Welcome to this demonstration of Supplier Central, which is an online portal application that allows a robust set of interactive features between a company and its supplier or vendor. My name is Ruben Cook, and I will be your presenter today. The focus of this demo will be Supplier Central, but please note our other applications that make up our Suite Central family, all of which are built on the NetSuite platform. Sync Central, which is an integration solution with web store, warehouse, and CRM connectors. Payment Central, that allows for robust payment processing, integrated billing, and subscription management. And Customer Central, which is a simple customer portal solution to engage customers at a higher level. For more information, visit suitecentral.com. So let's talk about Supplier Central. Supplier Central works in conjunction with the NetSuite Vendor Center. And if you're not familiar with the NetSuite Vendor Center, it allows vendors to enter time, view purchase orders, and some other interactions with vendors. Supplier Central augments this experience with 6 additional functions. This includes vendor onboarding, which includes vendor document passing and sharing between the supplier and the company, purchase order acknowledgement, and that whole back and forth process, the capturing and updating of ship dates, whether that's a cargo ready date or expected receipt date from the supplier. Advanced shipping notices may be entered through the portal that become inbound shipments in NetSuite. Drop shipments from your suppliers to ship your goods to your customers in your behalf. And it includes a full set of features to manage the entirety of the contract manufacturing experience, all within Supplier Central. So we have the advantage of the security, the native credentialing, the ease of deployment of the NetSuite Vendor Center, but we gain the benefit of the robust capabilities of Supplier Central. So let's just consider the context of why Supplier Central. It's really the collective experience of all of my clients over the years that led to the development of Supplier Central. All of the emails, the back and forth, the verifications, the need for additional information, and ultimately the inconsistency of how this information is transferred slows us all down, right? And even EDI flows are sometimes too rigid to support this interactive and fluid process. This slide is overly dramatic on purpose just to illustrate the point that there's a lot going on between these two parties, and we need to simplify. And so that's where Supplier Central steps in. It's a simple and rich way to interact with your suppliers. And let's take a look. So let's start with the Supplier Central dashboard that will be visible within your view of NetSuite on the back end. And obviously you're monitoring things like, vendor performance, your purchase order processing and so forth. So all of that we try to surface here as well, but the changes, the change requests, the acknowledgement process, we're trying to manage that in a simple way. So you'll see things like this proposed unit cost came through and was recognized as a change and highlighted for me right on my dashboard. Those types of things are going to be visible and allow me to take quick action on these right from the dashboard. So we'll jump to that in just a second. So as your suppliers log in, they're logging into NetSuite, but they're immediately routed to the Supplier Central page, right? And you'll see along the top, the features are demonstrated through these menu items. Typically, this kind of experience all starts with vendor onboarding. What I see on the profile form is really just a reflection of whatever you've entered within NetSuite on the vendor record. It could be as limited as an email. It could be as much as everything that you have about the vendor. And this is just a process for me to kind of confirm or edit the information that's on here. For example, I may notice the number is incorrect. It's really 6,900. I am perhaps going to update my address or whatever it might be. I can upload a W-9. I can also upload other documents that may be relevant, maybe a certificate of compliance or whatever that might be for your business. I'm just going to submit this form, and then I can toggle over to NetSuite immediately, and you'll see kind of this phone number will update as soon as the supplier updates it. You'll see here. You also see the document that was just passed over to me is visible here on the vendor record, right? Easy back and forth. Likewise, if I made a change, they would see it on their end as well. You'll notice this is a pending onboarding status. Yes, this supports a workflow to help move this along a little better. Let me go back to my vendor onboarding page. You'll see that the data here is uploaded. If I go to the vendor or updated, go to the vendor document center, you'll see all my uploaded documents, whether you've attached it on the vendor record directly or I've uploaded it through this SupplierCentral. Okay. The third feature is the PO acknowledgement. So I'm going to click here. You'll notice I have a list of my purchase orders, and I can decide which one I want to review or submit a change request for. Let's take a look at this purchase order. It's pending receipt, it's pending acknowledgement, obviously, so we haven't even acknowledged it yet. And it's got 2 line items on it. I go back to the portal, you'll see my 2 line items, and I have these options along the top. I can approve and acknowledge as is, or I can decide to submit a change request. One of the things you'll note here is we can link to your terms and conditions. You can also upload files here. I'm just going to simply edit the quantity of these items and edit the price. Let's say it's actually $15.20. And I could update the date and or vendor note as well, but I'm just going to submit this change. And on my purchase order, let me just refresh this. You'll notice that immediately these items are kind of highlighted, so I know what's been proposed. I have a proposed quantity change and a unit cost change. Okay, nothing else really changed from my supplier. And so I have the ability to either edit and kind of accept these on a one-off basis and resubmit for acknowledgement, or I can just say, hey, let's accept all the changes from the vendor, and the whole record is updated immediately. Okay, and so now the status has moved from change request status to a pending acknowledgement. As I bring this item back up, I can refresh, view, and I see that these changes were made according to my request. And now I can acknowledge the purchase order. If I go back to NetSuite, I'll just refresh this and you can see it's now acknowledged, ready to move forward in your workflow. Okay, let's go back to SupplierCentral. The next piece are PO documents, very similar to vendor documents. These are just the documents specifically related to the purchase order, so won't get into that just yet. And then there are ship dates, ship date updates. And I've prepared this purchase order 103 as an item, just one test item that is going to have an expected receipt date communicated through the portal. Portal could support, again, updating a different type of date other than expected receipt date, like a cargo ready date. So that's your option. And so I'm going to select edit. And this purchase order has already been acknowledged is the idea, but I may have new information that I need to provide through the portal as a supplier. My expected receipt date down here from a current August 12th is now recommended as August 31st. If I go back to the dashboard, you'll also notice those types of things are updated here within the dashboard, so I can see those changes. And if I want to accept that receipt date, I can edit and overwrite or just accept it as is from the vendor. Okay. Now, in the case of this SupplierCentral demo purchase order, you'll notice that we have extended functionality, which is called the inbound logistics feature. This allows you to connect that date through SupplierCentral. And again, let's assume it's a cargo ready date. And I can create a template, for example, of certain destinations or legs that include legs along this supply chain, right? From my factory to port to the carrier to US port to transload to truck, all of it from beginning to end. You'll see that I may put a forecast or benchmarked hours within NetSuite. So I have an anticipation of how long each one of these legs would take. And so if I know when it kind of hit X factory, then I can conceivably predict when this will arrive at my dock. Okay. It'll also track actual hours. This requires an additional integration to your freight forwarder or relevant database that holds this information, but that is an option for you if you do want to track actual hours, which can help your forecast be more precise for that expected receipt date. Okay, it may be, for example, that as I look at this, my inbound date is not quite sufficient of where it needs to be. I may be just a little behind on this expected receipt date. And so I can actually come in here. Let me just edit this purchase order. Okay. And you'll notice a few things. That one is I've got my list here, and these different legs are different options, right? So if I look at this 48 hours on a truck, this may be landing a little too late. I can easily toggle this to a team truck and maybe reduce my time in half, right, to 24. When I make those types of changes, it'll immediately reflect that in NetSuite. My expected receipt date will be up to date accordingly, and that can feed into the MRP engine as well. Okay, so a little bit about that extra feature, that inbound logistics feature. Let's jump over to the ASN, and you'll see I have this create ASN ability. I'm just going to choose the 159. I think that's the one I chose. And this is a simple form. I'm just really going to punch in some sort of document number from my end, the expected delivery date. I could put a vessel number, a bill of lading, whatever is applicable to be communicated here, and especially the quantity that is arriving on this ASN. I'm going to submit this, and this information will create an inbound shipment within NetSuite. So if I refresh this and I go to my related records, you'll see my inbound shipments are right here. And here's one that just processed, inbound shipment 41. And that's what I just created, quantity of 1 for that test item. And I can effectively accept this from my supplier and save this record. And you'll see that that is recorded against this inbound shipment. And I can now, I'm in a pending receipt status, so to speak, for the inbound shipment. Okay. So again, really easy to interact within the portal and create an ASN and make use of that. The next feature is the drop ship feature. Again, you'll notice that your drop shippers can come in here. They can look at a list of orders that need to be updated, and they can log their ship dates right here. These are optional fields that you can hide. You may add fields as well if you need to track or capture different sets of information. These are just some standard ones I put in here. And then they can acknowledge how many they did ship out as part of this and submit this to you. Okay, again, this is going to save a lot of data entry on your end, since you don't have to rewrite everything that they have carried out. This is an example of a sales order. It's linked to a purchase order. It is a drop shipment sales order. So as I complete this drop shipment, and let me refresh my screen. And there is item fulfillment 66. That carries over all the information that I put into Supplier Central, including any kind of tracking number, carrier, or other information or documents related to this. So let's go back to the main menu. And then you'll see I have contract manufacturer features that are similar to the ones I've already shown you, acknowledgement, purchase order documents. But the great thing is now I have this work order feature. I can have a contract manufacturer not just update that something's done, but give me details around it, especially if you're lot tracking and your contract manufacturer needs to provide to you lot numbers and so forth. They can do all of that right here. And you'll see that I have this contract manufacturing purchase order for some outside parts and labor. It's connected to work order 35. And this work order 35 has 100 with only 3 built to date, right? So you'll see this work order is tied to the purchase order. It's calling for an auto fulfill of transfer order, and it's just really ready to go, just pending that acknowledgement from our contract manufacturer. So as the contract manufacturer enters the portal, they can identify how many were built, the finished good lot number, and then how much of each component was used in that process. So I'm going to identify that, and what lot number, if relevant, was used during that process. Okay, so this is just an example, but I'm going to update this work order build by a contract manufacturer, and I can send this in to my work order. You'll notice that there were 3 built. If I refresh, we're up to 4. And that item is logged here, an assembly build. I also have those transfers that are visible here that are going to transfer from my contract manufacturer to my warehouse. Okay, pretty sweet. You'll notice also that all of these transactions are connected. The transfer order that's created and visible linked to an item receipt that's linked to the purchase order, that's linked to the work order. They're all linked together to make that contract manufacturing experience work. You'll see that in summary, Supplier Central is full of these features. I gave you a quick flyover, but you'll see how easy it is to use. It's within the native NetSuite platform, and it allows your suppliers to engage with you without duplicating all that data entry again, and in a more precise and reliable way. Thank you for your time. Again, if you have any more questions about this, you can visit SupplierCentral.io or visit our family of products at SuiteCentral.com. And thanks for your time today.